Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, depending on where you are viewing and watching us, and again listening to us across the globe. We bring you greetings from Richmond Media, and today to Richmond Media Health Issues, we want to bring health to your doorsteps. So at the moment, if you are first joining us today, or this is your first time joining us today, we want you to subscribe. Then you'll be the first person always to get in hand and in touch with every program that will come on Richmond Media Health Issues. Beloved, today also with me here is our brother Maxwell, Owusu Ansah. Brother Maxwell, good afternoon to Richmond Media Health Issues.
Good afternoon.
I believe by God's grace, you are doing well.
Yes, I am. I'm doing really well. I believe you're doing same, and I'm very hopeful that viewers and listeners would enjoy and benefit from this as we go along.
Yeah, I'm also doing well. Yes, our Richmond Media Health Issues have missed you for longest time, and I know today our viewers and our listeners will be happy enjoying our presentation together. Okay, so you are welcome once again, Brother Maxwell, to today's presentation.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so viewers and listeners, you realize that currently in our world now, there have been one thing that most people are experiencing and has been continually experiencing. At first, we were thinking that it's just a sign or symptoms, but now we can again diagnose it as a condition. Today with me is Maxwell Owusu Ansah. We are going to deal with how to manage or prevent headache, preventive measures of headache. So, Brother Owusu Ansah, with this presentation, what should our viewers and our listeners expect in today's presentation? Thank you.
All right. So I would thank you once again for the opportunity given to me to join this wonderful and insightful program. Um, just as you've said, um, what we are going to discuss today uh, has, in a way or another, been experienced by most of our viewers, and I'm just praying that they will be blessed while they go through with us. So it is the preventive measures of headache. Headache. It's a type of pain which is experienced in the head, the human head, to be precise. It's a very common one, but we will be looking at the types. Um, First of all, what headache itself is, and then we will go through the types. We will talk about the causes, the symptoms, means through which it is diagnosed, and most importantly, the preventive measures, which will be our main focus for today. So that is what we would be looking at in its entirety.
You for giving us the overview of what our viewers and our listeners should expect. So, as we start, when we talk about headache, what, how can you explain headache to our viewers and our listeners? Then you chip in. If we are having types, we will go into the types as well. So, can you explain the headache and its types if we have, so that we will know how we can diagnose or classify our forms of headache? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So it's an interesting phenomenon, I would say, because um, our body, as we have been looking at in Richmond Media's health issues. It's made up of systems, systems, and interestingly, how the system interacts and goes about its business is that um, the brain functions as a powerhouse of transferring information and interpretation of impulses. And this brain is housed by the skull in the human head. So if something goes on anywhere around the body, um, I the impulses are sent through neurons to the brain to interpret to the body what is going on. And funny enough, when things are happening or things are not going well in the area where the information is supposed to be interpreted, it becomes a very interesting phenomenon. Um, so a headache is a pain, I should put it, or a discomfort in the head, the human head, the scalp, or the neck area. And it might often result from um, either an underlying biological, environmental, or maybe a lifestyle factor. So it is a pain or discomfort experienced in the head, the scalp, or the neck area. And it often results from an underlying cause, which might be biological, environmental, or most importantly, a lifestyle factor. While headaches are usually benign, I should say, it is not so um, debilitating. Um, it can be a symptom of a more severe or disrupting health issue. So many times when headache is experienced by um, the human, it might not be taken as serious as it starts, but that can be a pointer to a very severe health issue. And it's one of the most common neurological disorders that goes on around the world, and it impacts a lot of people of all ages, and it can also affect the quality of life and how you go about your business in the day. Because as I've mentioned, the head houses the human brain, which controls most of the activities of the human body. So if there's a problem in there, then you should be thinking about what else can go wrong. So that is what headache is in general.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for explaining. So it means that at times it can be a symptoms alerting you that there's a major problem somewhere, so
Yeah,
that you not focus on that headache, but you
yeah.
need to investigate to rule out to see what at all is causing that. Okay, thank you for that clarification. But we want to find out, are there types of headache? Because someone will tell you, I'm suffering from headache. Then he will be saying, he will be pointing to the forehead. Someone will also say, I'm experiencing the headache. It seems like my eye is just falling out. Do we have some types of headache? And if we have, can you please take us through some of the types of headache? Thank you.
Okay, so there are types of headaches, and according to the International Classification of Headache Disorders, um, that's been put together by renowned people of literature in terms of diseases that we mostly talk about. There are about, I should say, 150 different types of headaches. It it's quite an interesting phenomenon, as I said, but mostly um, a classification is made. So whenever it, a type comes up, it might fall under any of these classifications that I'm about to talk about. So, according to the International Classification of Headache Disorders, there should be over 150. However, there are five major classifications or kinds, and these are as follows. The first one I will talk about is known as tension headaches. Tension headaches. And these headaches are often caused by stress. So they are mainly characterized by a dull, aching sensation, and it's mostly felt around the forehead area or sometimes at the back of the head or in the neck. So that is tension headaches that is associated with stress. If you think about the word tension, yeah, then you should think about a force over there. So that is stress. And uh, migraine is also a common classification of the headaches. A migraine would be um, severe in sensation and in its characteristic than the tension headache. But this one would be mostly accompanied by pain, sometimes nausea, and even sometimes sensitivity to impulses like light or sound. So migraines are also a classification. And the next one I will talk about, well, migraines can be chronic in its sense, and it can be very worrisome for some people. I believe we will touch on that as we move along. The next one is called cluster headaches, and these are intense at one side the head, and usually it's around the eye or mostly in the temples. So that often happens in cycles, and it's more common to men. The cluster headaches are more common to men because of um, the hormonal upkeep and then the type of daily activities men engage in. The next one I will talk about is called a sinus headache, and these are um, pain experienced as a result of infection in the um, sinuses. Um, they are also associated with pain in the forehead, sometimes in the cheek, or maybe in the bridge of the nose. So, depending on where it is occurring in the sinus, that would cause the pain, or the pain will be felt at that site where the sinus is found. And then the other one I will talk about is this is in one way or another a lifestyle associated pain sensation in the head. That is called a medication overuse headache. um, that is also known as a rebound headache, and they occur when pain relief medications. im- This is very important. When pain relief medications are overused, when they are overused, there's a rebound effect, and then that causes the headaches. So these are the few classifications of headache. But then there are so many descriptions, but any of them can be um, seen as moving towards one of these directions. So that's the types of headaches for you.
Thank you very much, our viewers and our listeners. You can see how we are gradually explaining these things to us. So it will help you to note that two people might be experiencing from headache and have been given treatment, but you realize that your headache medication is different from the other person's headache medication, and we need to watch out. Not all headaches are the same. As Brother Maxwell has taken us through, we have about five classification. And when you were mentioning about cluster and you were pointing about temple, this is not the chapel house. It's not the chapel. So we need to be mindful that it's not chapel headache that occurs at the church house temple. No, but we are talking about a part of the head or a part of the brain, or that's where he was showing us the sign. Okay, thank you for this. So after knowing all these things, what are some of the possible causes of headaches that we are experiencing? Thank you.
Okay, so as we have come across in most of our presentations, when it comes to causes of the um, diseases or conditions we talk about, we usually um, group them under these headings. So there can be a genetic predisposition. So someone, by virtue of their genetic makeup, their DNA, yeah, might be predisposed to experiencing any of these classes or types of headaches. Um, so a typical example would be migraines and some of the cluster headache disorders um, might usually happen to say females when they are in their time of the month. And we will talk more about that. There's a reason why. It is because of their makeup and then what is happening hormonally in the body. So there is that um, predisposition. Um, then we have the environmental factors. Um, a typical example would be sensitivity to, um, say, a light impulse, or maybe loud, like bright lights, or maybe loud noises, or say maybe a strong smell. This I think I have experienced. So especially when I am exposed to smoke in any form, I that is triggered. So there is the environmental cause of a headache, um, and then maybe changes in the weather condition can also trigger a headache, um, because our thermostat, which is the hypothalamus in the brain, which helps us to navigate um, seemingly difficult extremes of weather. If it is subjected to rapid changes, then we can experience headache. Okay, so with this one, a typical example is like if you take a really cold um, food, or anything that's really cold in your mouth. Yes, there's that sharp sensation. So that can be classified as an environmental factor. And then we have the lifestyle causes, examples of which are poor sleep, dehydration, alcohol intake, and then stress, as we talked about in the types. And then even dietary modifications can also cause headaches. There's also the medication, or the um, medication overuse, as I talked about earlier. So that can be a possible cause. We also have the medical conditions for which we have said the headache can be a pointer or a signpost that something is wrong somewhere in the body. So there exist the medical conditions that can cause um, headache. So these are a few to mention um, when we talk about the possible causes of headaches.
Thank you very much. So it means that if you are a viewer or a listener and you are suffering from a form of headache that we are studying, you need to now sit and assess yourself. If my own is about dehydration, as Brother Maxwell is mentioning, then it means when I take in water, it will help me. But if the
Sure.
next person's own is about stress, and she thinks that he needs to go and take a pain medication to quench the headache. Meanwhile, the cause is stress, not medication. And my own is low amount of water intake, but not medication. So you need to assess the cause before you move on. Thank you for that explanation for us to know that not all headache means I need to go for some medication. Since we have the types and this, what are some of the signs and symptoms of headaches that we are experiencing? Aside the pain that we will say headache, so it's a pain in the head. Are there other signs that is being linked with the condition? Thank you.
Okay, so there are, yes. With pain location and the pain quality, we can be able to determine what type of pain it is. So the sign and the symptom can help us further to um, go about managing it. So the first one I would say would be the pain location and the pain quality. So depending on the type of pain, um, the pain may be localized. For example, as we talked about the cluster headaches, um, the pain might be localized in maybe around the eye or in the temples. Yes, or it may be generalized. So you might be feeling the pain all around or all in the head, not restricted to a particular place. And then with the quality or the varying intensity, we can talk about the pain being throbbing, being a dull ache, or being, say, a tension caused headache. So the type will determine the symptom or the sign. And then there might also be associated symptoms. So usually migraines sometimes they come along with nausea and vomiting, and sometimes visual disturbances, sometimes sensitivity to impulses around us like light or sound. Um, for example, also sinus headaches may be accompanied by facial pressure. So, say if you have um, a type of headache that is felt around the bridge of your nose or around your eye or in the temple, you might feel pressure in that particular area. So, for instance, if you bend, then you might feel it more, yeah, than maybe sitting up straight or lying down. So those are the associated symptoms. And then we can also talk about the duration and the frequency. So amongst all of them, amongst all the types, tension headaches are the ones that last longer because for as long as the stress is there, the pain will be there. So you can do whatever, take medication, but if it is a tension headache and the stressor is not taken out, That pain will still be there. Migraines can also persist for days, especially if the trigger or might be because of sensitivity. So if that factor is there, say maybe if it's a bright light or loud noises, if that is still there, then the migraine will persist. Um, and then we can talk about cluster headaches that may occur in cycles. Maybe it would come around and then subside and then reoccur many times in the day, or maybe for a few weeks, or maybe in a month. So the signs and symptoms are usually talked about in terms of the location, the quality, the associated symptoms, and the duration and the frequency. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So someone is saying that explains why when she is experiencing the headache and she bends, you see that it become severe.
Yeah.
Thank you. So now we now know the differences between our headaches. So when yours is when you are it's worsened in the presence of sunlight, then you know that it's linked to A or B. So thank you very much. So you see, we have some conditions that when you are suffering from, at times you can just go to the lab and do some investigations to confirm if you are suffering from this condition. So with headache too, do you have some investigations that we can undergo so that we will know that yes, what I'm suffering from is rare headache or is a sign of a condition as you gave in the introduction. Thank you.
Yes. Yep. So obviously there are diagnostic measures that are taken to ascertain exactly what is happening. But let's start from the very common ones. So um, investigations for headache would usually start where you are. So you would look at your system. You would sit down and assess yourself. That is the first thing. Then, if you are able to rule out um, systemic factors, say maybe you might determine that, oh well, I might not have slept well last night, or oh, it might be because of this cold drink that I just took, or maybe that smell I just experienced. So if you're able to rule out all these factors and then it is still there, then we would be thinking about blood tests to know whether there is maybe an infection or inflammation somewhere in the body. So blood tests can be done to rule out these headaches. Then when you move on from the blood tests, we can also go to through investigating other body fluids like the CSF, the cerebral spinal fluids in the spine. Um, that is done through lumbar puncture. So that can also be done if we are suspecting maybe meningeal compromise or maybe nervous system compromise. Then we will think about going through a lumbar puncture. Um, we can also do an EEG, that is called an electroencephalogram. That one is not usually done to anyone at all. It only comes in when the headache came about as a result of maybe a seizure disorder. So maybe if someone has epilepsy, or due to an imbalance in the system, there happens a seizure, then we will go on to do an EEG, an electroencephalogram. So that one is mostly associated with seizures. So if seizures are not present, the EEG is not done. Then We can also talk about um, imaging, like the MRI or the CT scans. Um, those also come in when after blood tests and other fluid tests have been done. There still exists, unknown um, causes. Then we will probe further to see maybe it might be um, a neoplasm or maybe a tumor or a cancer. Yes, or it might happen that a blood vessel somewhere in the body has ruptured. For example, in aneurysms. So the imaging is done to go in to find out if there's a structural damage, of any of the organs that are not seen with the naked eye. So those are associated with the imaging, and with that we do an MRI or a CT. Um, and then if there are also sinus abnormalities which can not be detected, of course, with the naked eye, we also do that. We do the imaging to help to rule out the causes of the headache. So I would say, um, generally, um, the diagnostics or the investigations done would start from systemic, then it would go to blood tests, then it will come to other bodily fluids through lumbar puncture. Then when seizures are involved, we do the EEG, and then finally we do the imaging to rule out cancer or any other growth somewhere in the body. Thank you very much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. So with this, you know that it's not just a common condition that we have been taking it, headache. Then you go to a pharmacy, you just go and buy a pain medication, then you feel relief, then it comes back rebound. Because as you mentioned, there have been a case where the child, it was just some 18-year-old who visited a facility but started with headache, severe headache. So as you said, the frequency and the locality. But as the pain was increasing day in and day out, it reached a point that the head becomes swollen. And until we prove from the blood test, as you said, then to the imaging, CT scan confirm that there's serious problem compared to
Oh,
what happened. So it means that whenever you have been asked based on the frequency, because whenever you go to see a prescriber, they will ask you how long has the pain been there, as
yes.
Brother Maxwell is telling us. So you will tell them 10 days, 5 days. When did it mostly occur? Oh, after strenuous work, then they will know that it's narrowing to a place. But if you stop and they realize that it needs some investigations, viewer or listener, don't think about the price. Just adhere and do that investigation, because it will be best for you to do the investigation for us to know the actual cause, so that you will not end up in a complicated form. So thank you for letting us know the various investigations. So until then, when or how can one prevent him or herself, preventive measures of headache? Thank you.
Okay. So this should be icing on the cake. So if nothing at all is taken away or gotten from this um, discussion, it should be this one. So preventive measures for headaches. Um, I would want to straight away jump into lifestyle adjustments. Then we can talk about the other bits. So um, lifestyle adjustments. If you have been a regular viewer or listener, or you've been following this program for even only two episodes, you might have heard about health loss if you are a regular listener. So, um, there designer of this amazing and unique system that we work with as the human organism has set principles on this system. So what we do day in and day out will determine the outcome of or the health and well-being of this system. So if you have headache of any type or of any kind, even if it has gone as bad as um, you know um, a, a growth, say maybe a tumor or a cancer, lifestyle modification can go a long way to help you deal with this. And it is interesting to note this has been narrowed down to about 8 principles that I believe you might have heard over and over and over in Richmore media. Okay, so the basic one would be nutrition or diet and meals, which I will touch on in a minute. Then the next one would be exercise. I believe we've also heard about that. We might associate link that to this also in a minute. Then water intake. Then the use of sunlight to our benefit. Then we talk about temperance. Then we talk about the use of air around us. Then we talk about rest, relaxation, and sleep. And then we can talk about trusting in our maker. So, in terms of lifestyle adjustment, the basic things that help um, quickly, let me put them out. So, regular sleep will go a long way to help. Hydration will help. A balanced, nutritious diet would go a long way to help. And then stress management will be a critical tool to prevent headache. And then even if you've gotten into the state or the condition already, it would help you to reduce the frequency and severity. So that is it. The first thing that I want you to take note is the lifestyle adjustment. Now, coming down to nutrition in and of itself, or dietary awareness. Let me put it that way: dietary awareness. So, if you are able to identify and avoid triggers, then you are on your way to on your way to preventing these headaches, whichever form or type it is. Once you are able to identify and avoid the triggers. So, for example, in terms of food, um, caffeine. I know we might have heard about it in one of these Richmore media presentations on health. You might have heard about caffeine. Caffeine is a substance that um, harms the body in various ways, for which headache is one. So if you want to avoid it, you know, caffeine is a stimulant set to keep you active even when your body is in its natural way of gaining rest. So if you subject the body to overwork when it needs rest by using caffeine, then you have to know that you can't prevent headache. You will be having headache. Then alcohol consumption. I believe you might have also heard about that while listening to Richmore media. You know, alcohol can um, um, work on the brain, which is not so helpful. So, and then it can also cross the blood-brain barrier. So, alcohol consumption, if you are on it, you cannot prevent headache. That results in the hangover that people experience. So that can be a very um, typical example. So if you want to prevent headache, then you must refrain or abstain from alcohol, because one, I said, if you are able to identify and avoid the trigger, then you are on your way to prevent it. Then certain food additives, like the MSG, we have a couple of them. So they are associated with causing migraines and various other types of headaches, because originally they are not known to the body. So the body has to go a long way working to overcome its effects, and then even excreting them or taking them out of the uh, system, which is a very difficult thing for the body to do. So that would cause you a great deal of headache. So if you want to prevent headache, then you should be able to identify additives in food and then abstain from them. Then we can talk about regular physical activity or exercise. The exercise would help you relieve stress. It would help improve circulation, get blood that contains oxygen and nutrients to various parts of the body, for which the head is part. So if you're able to do that, you improve the circulation to your head, and the brain and its associated organs will be fed, and they will be happy. There wouldn't be any headache. So if you want to prevent headache, you should be engaged in daily exercises, and then you should do well to avoid or reduce tension. So we've talked about tension, headaches, and then if you are able to reduce the tensions around, then you are quite well on your way to preventing headache. Um, I should say exercise would also go a great deal while helping you to prevent your headaches. You will gain overall mental health when you exercise. And then we can talk about um, cognitive behavioral therapy. Those are used to manage stress and anxiety. So if the stress and anxiety is taken out, then it means we are working to prevent um, these types of headaches. Now, we can also talk about medication usage. So, just as Brother George mentioned, if you're having recurrent headaches and you've been taking some type of medication and it is not effective or it is not helping, then it means you should seek further investigation. Because if you go on to take these medications in the event that they are not helping, then you will get the rebound forms of the headache. So if you want to prevent these types of headache, the rebound and the um, headaches that result as when we involve in activities that deteriorate our hormonal um, activities. So if we take medications that will upset our hormones, then we cannot avoid these headaches. Um, Popular ones that we know um, by research and literature tells us that medications such as the antidepressants, the anticonvulsants, the beta blockers, these medications, though they are given to treat, in effect, particular types of um, situations, they even have the side effects of these headaches that we are talking about. So if we want to prevent or avoid these headaches, then it means such medications should be a no-no. we should um, delve deeper to find out natural therapeutic ways of relieving ourselves of these um, situations, such as the depression, the convulsion, so that we will not be dependent on these medications, because that will be the side effect if we take the medications for these situations. All right. All right. Now, the next one I will want to talk about is the biofeedback and relaxation techniques. This focuses on training and mindfulness based practices. For example, meditation, relaxation, resting, and even sleep in and of itself has proven to be able to help us prevent headaches. Now, I will also talk about the overuse of pain medication itself, not the other types of medication, but pain medication in particular, so that they do not cause rebound headaches when we have had them so in this case, in an attempt to relieve ourselves of the pain that we might be experiencing, we go on to invite the headaches onto ourselves. So we should be very, very mindful of medication overuse. These are a few that I can talk about in terms of the preventive measures. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So in this case, you realize that even if you are suffering from the headache and you adhere to these preventive measures, it will help in reversing your headache. And also, if you are at the verge of entering into the condition and you adhere to these principles that Brother Maxwell is taking us through, it will put a pause to where we have reached and it will reverse our condition. God bless you, Brother Maxwell. There's a question for you. Someone is asking us, cause headache? Can constipation also cause headache?
Yes, yes, it can. It can, because it obviously overloads the system with toxins. Um, if you think about constipation, then it means used products that the body needs to get rid of are still in there. And if you study the gastrointestinal tract, there's a point where there is reabsorption, especially in the large intestines. So if um, used products are still there, then they might be taken along with the fluid that is being reabsorbed. That obviously would poison the blood, so to say. So if your brain or your cells in the head are fed with these poisoned blood, then you would end up having headache. So yes, constipation can cause headache.
Thank you very much. So, viewers and listeners, I hope we have really enjoyed the presentation. By God's grace, our guest has been able to take us through from the onset to how we can prevent ourselves from getting this condition, headache. And if you are a fan of or you are a customer of headache, you now know where to ascertain and note where exactly or what is triggering your headache, and you will need to look out for how to best way come out by following the preventive measures. Brother Maxwell, God bless you. Amidst your busy schedule, you have been able to give rich time. We appreciate you a lot. And to our viewers too, we thank you and our listeners for listening and watching us across the world. So, Brother Master, as we are about to end the presentation, what is your take-home message for us all in this presentation? Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. So I would say to end these that um, it would always be wise to prevent these conditions that we have been talking about on Richmond Media before you get into it. And then if um, someone has been affected by any of these conditions, then it would always be wise to follow the reversive measures that we have been talking about, which in simplicity is the health laws that we've been given. So again, it is with respect to our nutrition, how we exercise, how we make use of water, how we make use of sunlight that has been given to us by God, how we involve ourselves in the judicious use of all the things that are beneficial, and then how we avoid the harmful things. So that is summarized in temperance. Then how we use air, the air we have around us, and how we rest, how we relax, and how we sleep. And then finally, how we trust in God. So that should be our take home message. It's always and always about the health principles that will underpin every preventive um, role that we would want to take. That would the underpinning measure would be the health laws. So let's be mindful of them. Thank you very much.
God bless you. So it means nothing occurs without a cause. And if you are able to follow the triggers and obey the laws of health, it will guide us and prevent us from headache. God bless you, Brother Maxwell. God bless our viewers. God bless our listeners. And we will end today's lesson here. But we hope that you always share for others to also listening to this presentation. Same time next week on health issues. Bye bye for now.
Saswa